here telling me that, you know, you can really learn where you don't expect normal things to be. So we're downtown, and, you know, of course, you know, you think it's a typical crazy person. But see, I know you guys think that of me. And I know what I know is, you know, what I know. Many people are like that. When you turn over the rock that's not overturned, you'll find something that you didn't expect to find, and that's a gift. And I hate to say this, but it was kind of when my mom had dementia. If you just block out that psychobabble that you call it, you don't realize they're not just talking off their ass. They're not just something wrong with their mind. They're like in another dimension or something. And they'll start saying things that make sense. I'll give you a perfect example. If you don't believe me, Carl Jung, in one of the only TV interviews with him, actually made that observation when he was asked, like, what made you investigate the question of the subconscious and the conscious and this and that. And he was from Germany, but he had basically gone to New York and was studying people who were in the hospital for schizophrenia. And he said there was this one young guy, and he was standing by the window, and Carl Jung says, I'll play it for you. But he yelled at Mr. Young and said, you know, come on over here, I'll help you out. And basically, he said, the man said, look at the sun. And Carl Jung said, this guy I knew was crazy. He didn't pay any attention to him, really. But he said, do you see that thing dropping down from the sun? It's what creates the winds on Earth, you know? Like some weird kind of poem type thing. This is like in 1939 or something like that. And Carl Jung was like, yeah, you know, just saying to himself, you know, you're nuts, you're crazy. He goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, if you watch the sun, it'll follow you any way your head turns, and it drops down a tube, and that's what creates the winds of the earth. And he starts going into this really deep poem, you know, and Carl Jung was just doing his regular studies. 5 years later, they, I guess, unearthed some, you know, archaeological dig where it had some ancient writings in it. And sure enough, Carl Jung says, they start reading it, and none of it had ever been released. And he was there for this premiere, right? And the beginning of the text was word for word what this guy had said to him in this psycho hospital. And he said when he snapped, and he knew that there was some connection between, like, what the subconscious, like, was the guy reading the future, or what the guy was saying. It sounded like lunacy to Carl Jung. Now it's in a museum, written in hieroglyphics, exact wording of what this guy was saying. So where did this guy get those words 5 years earlier? And the interviewer goes, well, come on, man, you need more proof than that. He goes, no. He goes, no, I didn't. He goes, at that point, I knew that there was something going on, and that's why I studied what I studied. And so if you turn away from it and you just, like, say, oh, that guy's crazy, you know, you don't realize we're all radio stations. I mean, a lot of people don't talk to me because, like, Alex Jones did the same thing. Because I'll start talking about something that I did last night, and what they're hearing is different. They think I'm talking, like, some shit from, like, their dead mother, and I probably am. We all get used like that. The jumpers, they jump into us, pass messages on, and now if they don't like who you are or you look ugly, they're going to be like, he's a demon. Why? He knew all this stuff about me that I don't know how he knew it. And, like, I won't even tell them that. I just won't realize that I'm talking off the top of my head, and what I'm saying is affecting them in some sort of way. And instead of being impressed, they're insulted. And believe it or not, when you think someone's going to be insulted, they're in awe, and they're like, wow, dude, you have a psychic gift. Why would you say that? Because everything you just said happened to me last night. And I don't know that. Or I do, but I don't say anything to them. So, you know, except for the really, really out there ones, the ones that are kind of violent, if I were you, I'd listen to what they say. And you're going to hear, because somebody's going to know you're listening, you're going to hear messages passed on to you that could be very helpful. Because, you see, there's a benefit to turning towards something that everyone else shuns. You know, the whole ugly duckling thing, you know. It's like when you walk into a classroom and you see a beautiful blonde girl and, like, a heavy-set, ugly Latina girl. I can tell you right now which one's going to be the bitch and which one could be your best friend for life. And it's not going to be the blonde girl. And the same thing goes for people who, you know, are homeless and screaming things on the street. They're not, quote-unquote, crazy in the sense that they're making no sense. No one's even listening to them. No one's trying to decipher what they're saying. And that's what Carl Jung said. He said he didn't do that. And then when he finally heard this quotation out of that ancient text, he didn't understand why, but that's what he wanted to study. How did this guy who's locked up in the schizophrenic area of a hospital was able to quote word for word the text of this ancient, revered, manuscript? So you listen to people that you think are crazy. 10 years later, you find out they were geniuses. It happens over and over again in history. Word to God, word to prophet.